Hello and welcome to Exercise 3, Collar Cutting. As you can see, we are using the same shapes as we did for our taper exercise. In this example, I have already created my profile figures for the circle, square, and triangle, and we will go ahead and start by selecting the collar machining function. Here, once again, I will create my operation sequence or workpiece. I'll go ahead and create another billet. This part here will be, this billet will be 1 inch thick. And then I need to make sure that I glance through the rest of my examples. Make sure all the numbers are correct. Make sure that my material and the wire I'm using is correct as well. And then I can click OK. This takes me to the collar menu or dialog. As you can see here, we also have 3 different taper controls for the collar machining function. Collar at the bottom, collar at the top, and then collar in the middle. Okay, so for each one of these shapes, we will be using a different taper control. Okay, so the first thing that I will do is select my profile figure. And then we will use the collar at the bottom for this shape. 5-degree angle. And then I will also have a 1/4 inch collar at the bottom. Next, we will go to technology. Here you need to know what you are cutting first, if you are cutting the taper first or the collar first, right? So because you need to define the thickness that you are cutting. We always select the technology for the taper first, no matter if it's at the bottom or at the top. We always select the technology for the taper first. In this exercise for the circle, I will be cutting the taper first. So it will be cutting through the full thickness of the material. So this will be 1 inch. So I'll go to select technology. Make sure this is 1 inch, and then I will go to select my nozzle characteristics here. I will go with high precision, and let's go with 3 passes. So whatever's left here afterwards will be just a 1/4 inch. So I'll also go and select the technology for this. So you can see up here that it did not transfer that over, so we sometimes will need to make sure that we select a corresponding thickness that will match. Okay. So for this one, once again, I'll go with precision, well, with just a rough cut on this one. Okay. So we also have 2 different setups here. So under taper, when I click on this, you can see that we only have the cut control tab for this. Everything else, your tagging is controlled under the straight cut or collar setup. Okay, so make sure that everything here looks okay. You can click OK there, and then we'll go to the setup under the collar. So over here, we will set up our tagging. Okay, so everything here, I'm going to just leave as is. Okay, this will automatically apply to your first operation. In our case, this will be the taper. Okay, all right. I'll go ahead and click OK there and move on to the next 2 pages. Start hole, this is just your start hole size, and then option. Because I want to cut the taper first, I need to make sure that I check on taper before parallel. And then I also want to make sure that I finish all my passes on this first aperture before moving to the next. And then depending on how large your taper is, you might have enough material on the collar cut or straight cut to drop a slug. In that case, you may also want to add a tag stop to your second operation. Okay, so for this one, we only have the two operations, the taper and the land, so we only have two operations here. The third operation, tag stop on the third operation, does not apply to this circle. Okay, we'll go ahead and click OK there. Alright, so now I can rotate this around and you can see I now have a straight cut as well as a taper. Over here to my left under my workspace, if I click this plus sign here, you are able to see how many passes are on my taper and my straight cut. You also see there's a number 1 next to the taper here. This designates that that will be cutting first. Okay. All right, and that is how we program a collar. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and quickly go through the next two shapes as well. So right here, I'm going to go back to the collar, and this time selecting the square. Okay, maybe I want to rotate this back. And this time, I'm going to select the second taper control. Once again, we're going to go with 5 degrees here. And then this time, our 1/4 inch is going to be at the top. So this is measured from the bottom up. So make sure that you have 0.75 so that the collar is a 1/4 inch from the top. Okay. So over here, selecting technology, you can see that the top taper is grayed out now because this taper is at the bottom. So once again, I'll go ahead and select the technology for the taper first. And we will do the same thing as we did with the circle. So I'm going to go ahead and select my 3 passes here. Check my setup. You can see here, everything there looks okay. And then now, once again, selecting my technology for the collar or straight cut. Okay, and then once again, checking my cutting setup for this, single pass, tagging, all of that is fine for me. I'll click OK and OK again. Let's check that one more time. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on this one more time, and I think over here under options I forgot to select my machining options. So make sure that you always come back and check to make sure you select your different machining options. Okay, OK again. There we are. So now we have our collar at the bottom, collar at the top, and the last one here will be just the collar in the middle. Okay, so selecting my triangle, select my taper control here. So here, once again, you can have different tapers for this. So maybe I want a 2-degree taper at the top, 5-degree taper at the bottom, but now I need to figure out how large of a straight cut or collar I want in the middle. Okay, so once again, these numbers are a little bit different for each one of these taper controls, so make sure that you are looking at the diagram here to figure out which height corresponds to which level of your taper. Okay, so this time I'm going to have a 1/2 inch collar in the middle, so 1/4 inch taper at top, 1/4 inch taper at the bottom. So this time this will be 0.75 because Z1's going all the way up to this edge up here, right? And then Z2 will be right here. Okay, so now this will change to 1/4 inch. Okay, so now under technology, we still select technology for the tapers first. So top taper first. precision. And then down here, this is just an estimation, right? So it's just estimating how much thickness I'm cutting through for the second taper. I'll make sure I select my thickness here. Okay, and then my last one is right in the middle. So make sure I select this as well. Okay, check my options. Make sure I cut my taper first. In this case, we will have 3 operations: a top taper, a bottom taper, and a collar in the middle. So make sure that we turn all this on if I have a slug dropping for any of them. Okay, so I'll go ahead and click OK. Alright, so once you finish your programming for the collar, your VDM file should look something like this. If you have any questions or need further assistance, please contact us at support@optisolutionsusa.com. Thank you.